guys, welcome to yet another beautiful episode of Let's Talk. And today I am very excited because we are talking about a topic that is very, very dear to my heart. My name is Miss Phil and I'll be joined by two amazing guests on the far, this is my right, is Bright, founder of Mental 360, and nearest to me is Zaria Gikonyo, a mental health advocate. They'll be sharing their stories and what they're doing in this space. And before they do, I just want to tell you guys what is happening on 10th October. It is World Mental Health Day. And this year's theme is mental health in an unequal world. So basically just to debunk the myth kidogo, wanasema the rich are becoming richer and the poor are becoming poorer. We basically have two divides. They have and the have-nots. And with the COVID-19 pandemic that started, in 2019 and 2020, it spread all over the world. It made us, every one of us, we were just focusing on our physical health. Unajua ukisikia unakohoa kidogo, pale kwa matatu msee akichemua mkozileza, what is happening? But no one really, at the first time, really interrogated what was going through our minds, because for the better part of 2020, we were locked. We were not even going to work. We were working from home. We were doing things from, your bedroom, your bed sitter pale kwa mtaa, your one bedroom pale. So you were not seeing people. Some of us were not even seeing the sun. And with that, the mental health continued to affect so many people. And it's very important that we have this conversation, and I appreciate what has been happening in our country of late and in the world, that this topic is coming to light. So karibuni sana to this conversation. If you have any question to our lovely guest, please shoot pale kwenye comment section, nitakuwa ninawauliza. Karibuni sana.
Thank you.
So guys, niliwa introduce lakini najua watu kidogo wamesahau. Tell us who you are and what you do.
For me?
Yes.
Okay. So my name is Zaria Gikonyo. I'm a mental health advocate. Just finished doing law. And yeah, I'm very passionate about mental health because I've lived with a mental illness. And I just feel like it's something that we have to talk about now. So yeah.
Thank you, Zaria, and Miss Phil. My name is Bright Shitemi. I'm the founder and executive director of Mental 360, youth-led, youth-focused organization that works to raise awareness on mental health, provide affordable and holistic mental health solutions, and advocacy. So I'm also coming from a background of having huge interest and passion for mental health, having lost 5 of my friends to suicide, also going through my own journey with mental health and realizing that there's a huge gap, especially for young people, to access mental health services or to even understand what mental health illnesses are. And that's why I do this.
Karibuni sana one more time.
Thank you.
So unajua mtu anaweza kuwa anatuwatch pale alafu anashangaa, hii mental health tumesema hapa tunarisha this one. What does it mean to you at a personal level, Zaria?
Yeah.
What does mental health mean to you?
For me, I feel like without mental health, then you have nothing. Because my mental health manifests with physical illness as well. So that's how I came to discover that I have mental health issues. Is I got really sick and they couldn't find a physical cause. Like they were doing blood tests and nothing was making sense. And so when they said it was my mental health and I got help for that, things changed. And now when I get pain I go to the doctor. If they can't find something physically wrong, then that's when I'll go back and work with my counselor and work with my doctor, because that means at that time I'm stressed. So my body is responding to that stress.
Yeah.
So for me, mental health is being in the right state of mind to function and to go on with your day-to-day activities. Because if your mental health is not 100%, then most of the activities you do, the things you love, you won't be able to do it because the motivation is not there. Like you don't feel like you have a purpose. And so yeah, that's what mental health is to me.
Okay, good explanation for you, Bright.
For me, mental health is a state of well-being, and it starts in the mind, and it exists in a continuum, being there is positive or good mental health and there is negative or bad mental health, and all human beings are wallowing somewhere in between, from good mental health to the bad mental health. And when it's bad mental health, that's when in some cases people have mental illnesses, and when it's good mental health, then you're really well functional, you're contributing to society, you're being very productive and feeling great about yourself. And so I mean, sometimes people use mental health and mental illness interchangeably, but they mean different things. Illness is when it's poor, and mental health is when it's good mental health.
It's good. Okay, naona kuna wase washa tune in. Nahashon Poyle, I can't pronounce your second name, Twake, anasema I'm tuned in. Zaria, big up sana.
Thank you.
That's your fun. Alafu kuna mtu anaitwa Megan Kerubu anasema hello Pulse Live Kenya, I'm tuned in from Nakuru. And then Deno Mwenda anasema I'm tuned in from Kenya National Theatres. Thank you so much. And then you go on to comment unasema this issue has been neglected most among the youth, and we'll be addressing that in a few. But before we go on, you know, how do you first even know that I'm not okay, that my mind is not okay? What are the things that you look for?
Personally, I realized I was irritable, so I was angry at everyone for no reason. I was always sad, but I didn't know what I was sad about, and I was not eating. I would stay in my room the whole day, either asleep or just trying to watch something, because my mind is not, I'm not there. I'm there physically, but I'm not there mentally.
Yeah.
So even if I'm watching something, it's not loading. And then I didn't see any purpose in life. I was like, what's the point of living life if I'm not happy?
Yeah.
And why am I feeling like this? And is it normal to feel like this? So at that time, I felt very alone. I felt like at first I didn't want to tell my parents, because we have this notion that this is a white person's problem.
Yes.
So now you come, what are you telling your parents? Like, I'm depressed, and they'll ask you why. Like, I've given you everything. We've taken you to good schools. We've given you everything you wanted, and I've always been grateful for that. But at the end of the day, you will give me all those things, and you'll buy me all the gifts. But what I actually want is someone's presence, someone who understands or tries to understand what I'm going through. Okay. And yeah, that's basically what I can say.
And for you, Bright, you mentioned that you had some friends, who committed suicide. Did you notice anything, or you were just like, what happened?
Yeah, so first of all, I'll correct you. The lingo right now, or the correct lingo, is not commit suicide, because that commit me would suggest someone is a criminal.
Yeah.
Commit a crime, right?
Okay.
But died by suicide.
Yeah.
So I had friends who died by suicide.
Okay.
These are friends, some who I met in high school, and then some who I interacted with in university. And for me, it was a big problem, because I would ask myself, these are people who, from the outside looking in, you think have the best of life, right?
Yeah.
You don't see a problem at all, or maybe if you see a problem, it just passes by you. So if someone becomes suddenly withdrawn, you think maybe they're going through a problem, and someday they'll be back
Yeah,
out.
they'll come back.
And so you never, it does never occurs to you that someone can take their life. And when they do, then it's a really huge shock. So when it happens 5 times, you really ask yourself, okay, then if it's happening 5 times in my circle, is it happening in your circle,
Yeah.
And then how big is the problem then that you're dealing with in Kenya, for example?
Yeah.
Now, that piqued my interest, and I started trying to research and find out about suicide and mental health. And I realized that even myself as a young person, I was going through my own challenges. And it's very easy to get to the brink. And some of these issues are what happens around us in our environment. It's social media, it's trauma, it's things you pick from your life. And I understand doctors say for others it's people who are born with chemical imbalances in the brain. But all these issues are affecting so many young people, and there's very few answers for them. Many don't understand what they need to do, who they need to go to. Because again, it's a highly stigmatized conversation. If I'm dealing with depression as a young man, I seem to be weak. I don't have a job. I'm just locking myself in the house. I'm thinking about ending my life.
Yeah.
How good am I to society? You see, these are the feelings and the thought processes that go through many of people who are going through these challenges. And so for me, it became a challenge to educate fellow young people about mental health. Not being a professional or anything, but just being a person who can tell stories of what I know and what I've seen, and hopefully impact people's lives.
Okay, so Zaria, when did you first discover you were not okay? Can you remember how it felt like, where you were?
I was in the shower. I just woke up, and I remember I was still sick. So at the time, things were getting better for me physically. But I had missed so much school, and my peers were moving on. And so I would ask my mom, like, what am I going to do? My peers are moving on, and I'm just in the house. What's going to happen? And I remember I was just in the shower. I was like, there's a problem, because there was no music playing. Like, I was just in the shower quiet. Then I look up at the shower head, and I'm like, what are the chances that this will hold my weight? And when I got that thought, I was shocked. And the shock made me cry. But I was still determined to see whether that shower head will hold my weight. Because at that point, I was like, what's the point of living? People have moved on, and I'm stuck. I used to think, oh, what will people think? What will people say? Are my parents disappointed in me? I would just think so many things. And I didn't want to feel like that anymore. And I was like, if I'm gone, things will be easier. Then I got out of the shower. Then I was like, I was just uneasy. So I went into my mom's room, and I was like, Mom, something's not right. I'm depressed, and I'm having suicidal thoughts. I want to take my life. And at first, obviously, she was shocked, but she was also trying to stay calm.
Yeah.
So that she can stay calm for me. And she was like, okay, we'll go see a doctor. So the next day, that's when we went to see my doctor, and my journey began from there.
Okay.
Yeah.
What stopped you? And why did you go to your mom?
Me and my mom, we, like, all my life, it's been me and mom. So she's my mom and my best friend, and I know which line not to cross. So when she's mom, she's mom. When she's my friend, she's my friend.
She's your friend.
Yeah. And I've always been open with her. Like, my people in my family, joke around. They say they can't tell me a secret because I'll go tell my mom.
Your besties.
Yeah, and like people, if you've done something to me, believe me, my mom knows.
Ooh.
Yeah, so if you've done something wrong to me,
Yeah.
mom knows.
She knows.
Yeah, so I just felt comfortable, but I didn't think, at that time I wasn't even thinking, this is something that's not talked about.
Yeah.
I was just like, I need help, and I was like, I need to be there for my family. I don't want to do this to my family. And luckily that thought came into my mind, and I was like, yes, I'll be gone, but there are people I'm leaving behind.
Wow. I like the relationship you really have with your mom.
Yeah. So yeah, I went and told her. She took me to hospital. Till today, at my big age, she will not let me go for an appointment alone.
Wow.
I'm like, Mom, I'm fine.
But still.
I'm old now.
Yeah.
It's like, no, she will come. She will listen. She'll have sleepless nights trying to Google the medication, or why my head is hurting. She might even Google why my toe is hurting, or everything.
Yeah. And
I think for me, I really appreciate that, and I know I can always count on her. I know I can always go to, no matter how bad it is, I can always go to her and tell her. And with her, I don't feel like I'm a burden, because that's my biggest issue. I always feel like a burden.
Yeah.
So as much as I have amazing friends, the 1, 2, 3 friends I have, I still don't want to tell them everything that's going on, because I'm like, I don't want to spoil your day. I don't want to be a burden. Like, are you telling me you'll help me just to say it? Like, do you genuinely mean it?
Yeah.
And that's why I find it hard even to make new friends, because I'm like, why would someone want to be my friend? Or like, even a relationship, I'm like, why would this person want to be with me? I come with so much baggage. That's what I thought.
That's what you thought.
I was like, I come with so much. Why would they want to be with me? Like, this is a lot.
Okay.
And I realized I was stigmatizing myself. So as much as I still have those thoughts, I'm more open. Especially this year, I'm trying to make more friends. And even though they don't know the full extent of things, I'm trying to open myself up and be vulnerable, because I don't want to be alone. I don't want to feel alone anymore. The feeling alone is that's what puts you at the edge.
Yeah.
Feeling alone.
Like no one cares.
Exactly.
No one is concerned.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter to anyone else.
Like they're it's like a movie. Like you're looking at them living their lives. Like they're moving on with their lives, and you're just
the observer.
Yeah. Like you have no vision. And yeah, just nothing motivated me at that time. But I truly thank God for my mom, because to be honest, I wouldn't be here today.
Yeah. Big up to your mom.
Yeah.
Big
I
up
wouldn't
to
be
your
here
mom.
today. Yeah.
Yeah. Coming to you, Bright, you know, Zaria's mom was there for her. You have an organization called Mental 360. Can you tell us how you assist people who are going through such moments when they come to you?
Yeah, and so Zaria's really touched on so many important issues, and she should be a case study for a positive environment for someone who's going through mental health challenges.
Yeah.
You see, before I go into what Mental 360 is doing or does, can you picture a scenario where she goes to the mom and the mom tells her, look, get out of my sight, are you just being, lazy or stubborn, or what's into you? We've given you everything, and why are you coming searching and things to me? Are you cast? Imagine if that came from the mother. And now that's what's happening to most people. when the first point of contact usually is the family. It's not even Mental 360.
Yeah.
It's not even a doctor. People don't even know who a psychiatrist is or who a psychologist is. It's the friend, it's the parent, it's the brother, the sister. And so this speaks to the social support systems, which are really key to mental health. Because however much you go for mental health support from professionals, if you're going back to a poisoned environment, it doesn't really help at the end of the day. Yeah. And that's a key problem even in the mental health sector at this point in time. Secondly, it's about being vulnerable with yourself and with others, realizing that for some people, yes, you have a good environment, but because you have that sense of guilt of I'll be a bother, I'll be a baggage to people, then it kills you within. And we encourage more and more people to be vulnerable, because you can only get help once you open up yourself to the world, or to key people around you. So as to what we do is, for us, what we realized a huge gap in our society is not just the financial gap. I know we talked about COVID and people losing their jobs and people not being able to afford services, but also we realized as an organization that mental health issues cut across the social spectrum, from people in the bottom of the pyramid to those at the top of the pyramid. Those who say, we've had everything, then what's wrong? And so what you find sometimes at the top of the pyramid is people who are stigmatized by their own social support system. So they can't access mental health services by virtue of that stigma, which cocoons them into that problem. So these are also very vulnerable people. Why? Because they have no answers, they have nowhere to go, they're closed in a system, and that's where you see a lot of suicides. Now on the other end, when you go to people at the bottom of the pyramid, you don't even have that finance, because seeing a psychologist by itself is 3,000, 5,000.
Yeah.
Seeing a psychiatrist is, buying medication is 20,000 shillings a month.
Yeah.
So it's unattainable for most people. So as Mental 360, we came in to say, look, we want to create an affordable system, where that someone who cannot afford a single penny can still access mental health services. And that's someone who is able to afford whatever they're able to afford. Then, because we realize that people also attach value to things they pay for. So initially, as an organization, we came around saying, look, we'll offer free services. We realized that people are dropping off. But once you attach a value to them, for those who can afford, then they value the service. So people pay 500 shillings, 200 shillings, 1,000 shillings, up to 3,000 shillings per session, depending on where they're coming from. And so that's for therapy. The other thing we encourage is support groups, because that's a secondary support system now from your primary support system. And we've seen people come into these contextualized support groups, if people who are struggling with anxiety or struggling with bulimia or something, finding a tribe or finding a community that they can exchange knowledge. What treatment are you taking? What approach do you have in such situations? So people learn from each other, which is very important. Lastly, it's on a broader level, now at a national level, is to try to influence policy. And we've been working towards this recently with is it called? Unanimously, the Senate passed the mental health bill, which is quite good. That means we changes in the horizon. In terms of mental health funding, decriminalization of suicide. We still live in a society where if that thought that she had, if she attempted it, she'd be a criminal and she'd be taken to prison. Does that look logical to you? This is someone who needs to go to see a doctor.
Someone
or
who
something.
needs help. Yeah.
So we are also trying to address it at a national level.
Okay.
More importantly, for people who need to reach out at any given point in time, we run a helpline number. It is 0770 360 360 after our name, Mental 360. So it's 0770 360 360. People are reaching out to us via this channel, and they get to access psychological first aid. Sometimes people call when they're in that moment and they get help, and then they now get to start attending therapy sessions. And also people are reaching out through our social media channels. You can just search Mental 360 on Facebook and get to know more about us.
Okay. 0700.
0770 360
360. Okay. I hope that our social media guys have gotten that. Maybe they can drop it in the comment section for anyone who would want to reach out for help. I can see Mzizi Africa, they've tuned in. Wanasema, it is wonderful to see such conversations happening. It is through such initiatives that the narrative around mental wellness is changed. Hashtag time to talk. Thank you so much. And then I can see Kevin Mushai Kamau is saying, mental health is very important. I almost gave up like a month ago. We thank God that you didn't give up and you're still here. Kevin, if you need more help, you can reach out to Mental 360. And then there's Megan Kirubu anasema, okay, regarding mental health, what happens or what should one do if he or she doesn't have anyone to talk to? How can one deal with this? I don't know. Anyone who wants to answer that question when you feel like there's no one you can talk to?
Believe it or not, there's always someone. So even if you see someone online, there are very many organizations on on Instagram right now, and you can just DM them and they'll talk to you, or reach out to a friend. If you're scared to reach out to your family, reach out to a friend that you trust. It's tricky. People reach out to me and I do my best to respond. But I also have to be in the right state of mind to respond.
Support.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I can be in such a bad place. Like a week ago, I didn't know how I was getting to places. Like I was driving, I was like, I don't know how I got home. I was talking, I wasn't making sense, or words were not coming out of my mouth.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the reasons I wouldn't respond, because I don't have anything of value to tell you
At the time.
Yeah, but also there are very many psychologists online, and I advise you to reach out to them. Like Mental 360 can help you. There's also Jipende Wellness, and yeah, if you want me to send you the links, then you can find me on Instagram. But yeah, you're not alone. That's
Yeah.
one thing. Yeah, you're not alone.
I think maybe her question, it's what happens when someone doesn't have anyone to talk to. It's the fact that you're thinking, I don't have anyone to, you believe that there's no one to talk to.
Yeah.
And probably if you don't trust, your colleagues, your friends, your workmates, you can do the helpline, anonymity. Sometimes we feel comfortable when you're like, let me just admit this. You want someone to listen to you, and you're like, it's better if they don't even know who I am, because the judgment factor. Bright, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I wanted to say, I would understand why someone would say they have really no one to talk to.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we live in a world, and I've been there before, when, for example, you need help in a certain thing, and you have all these people, and there's no response,
Yeah.
And so sometimes you feel like really you're alone in this world, because things are moving at 100 kilometers per hour for everyone, and everyone is busy with their lives, or your problem is stigmatized by those people that you would want to reach out to, or you feel you would be judged, like you mentioned. And like she said, now it's upon you now, because this, like I mentioned earlier, healing starts with you. That process for recovery, or process towards reaching out for help, starts with you. And so thankfully here in Kenya we have all these resources, so many mental health organizations right now. And once you make that first step to reach out, that's the first step to recovery. For us, once you reach out, we'll reach back to you. Yeah.
Okay, just, I don't know, have some faith to type something, even if it doesn't make sense to you, and reach out. I hope, Megan, you'll find some help. So Zaria, when you went to the doctor, they told you you have this, you're suffering from this, and through the whole process, how did you come to accept? There's that thing of you want to reach out, but there's the fear of you fear. They say what is that they say? Whatever you don't know doesn't kill you. There's something like that.
Yeah.
How did you deal now? You've gone to the doctor with your mom. They've told you this.
I was told, and first I was told I was diagnosed with severe depression and anxiety, and also addiction, but that's a whole other story. So there was that, and because of that addiction, I went into a treatment center. After I got out, I was doing very well. January 2018, I go to the doctor, very hyper. Not myself. I mean, I'm the old me. The way my parents describe me, I'm an extrovert. But this one was ×2. So the doctor looked at me. He was like, "I think we're dealing with bipolar." So when he told me bipolar, I was like, okay. I just said okay.
Did you know what bipolar was at that point?
I knew bipolar. By how they show it on TV. On TV,
in the movies.
Yeah. Okay. On TV, they are violent. They are harming people.
Yeah.
And so I was like, it doesn't make sense. I don't harm people. Like, I'm not violent. Like, yeah, I get really, really angry, but it's not making sense.
Yeah.
And so the best way he explained it to me is he drew a straight line, 2, and then he drew waves, and one was very consistent. Then the other one was like extreme. So that's how bipolar, we have the extremes.
Extremes, yeah.
Yeah. I personally have bipolar 2, so my high is not that bad.
Okay.
But it's still
not the normal.
People would think that high is good. And granted, it's fun, it's nice, it's good being happy.
Yeah.
But after that, you're exhausted. Because you think you can do so many things. So many ideas are coming up, you want to do all of them. I would sleep late. Maybe I'll just rearrange my room, arrange my drawers, like go around the house singing, cooking at 2 a.m. And so I was like, okay, it makes sense because it's a mood disorder. So when he told me that, I was like, okay. But my parents were confused. And they were like, first they were in denial. They were like, no, like, yeah, no, it can't be. And for me, I was fine with it. I just accepted it until the point he told me, you'll be on treatment for the rest of your life. That's when it hit me. I was like, this doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Like, why do I have to be on treatment forever? Like, is that even like healthy for me? Like, why? It's not making sense. And that was a big struggle for me. I stopped my medication many times. I would lie about how I'm taking it many times. Because sometimes the side effects put you off. So, for instance, some antidepressants, for me, since I have really bad anxiety, it heightened my anxiety. Like, it made it worse.
Okay.
But what the doctor told me is that's what will happen, then my brain will regulate it. And so I had to learn how to give that a chance.
Yeah.
Then there were questions of why and how. Like, I was asking myself, why me? Why did I get it? How did I get it? Most of the time it's genetic. So I was scared because I didn't want my parents to feel guilty.
Yeah.
It could have happened to anyone.
To anyone, yeah.
And maybe it's not directly from them, but maybe because we don't know how other people have been, like how our ancestors have been, because no one spoke about mental health.
Yeah.
So maybe my great-great-grandmother had bipolar or something like that. And so that was one thing. The other thing was, I was like, can I live a life? Like, I don't have a life now. I can't go to school now. I can't live a normal life.
Yeah.
But then again, I thought to myself, this is something I've had, but it was triggered this time.
Yeah.
So why do I think
that
I can't have
live
a normal life? So that was the tough part, but I was like, I'm the type where if someone tells me, this is hard, you can't do it, I have to prove them wrong. Like, no matter what it is, I will have to prove them wrong.
Yeah.
And people didn't believe in me when I wanted to do law. And that's why I made sure I was working so hard, because I was like, why do you think I can't do it?
Yeah.
So I worked, and I was like, I have to finish this degree. Sometimes I wanted to give up, but I was like, I have to finish. And I got to the end. So I was like, you were wrong, I did it. And when I started talking about mental health, it helped me as well. Because I was like, I'm content when someone else benefits from my story. So even if my story is rough for me, telling it, if someone can tell me, oh, you really helped me, like I heard your story and I related, that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. So whenever sometimes I second guess myself, why am I doing this? I should just stop. A message will come, or I'll just remember, this person, I helped this person.
Yeah.
And if I can like prevent people from feeling as alone as I did, and having no information whatsoever of people who have lived experiences, then I'm willing to do whatever I can. And obviously there's been a backlash. For instance, because my addiction was not what other people would think.
Would imagine.
Yeah, because it was prescription drugs and from an illness. So someone commented.
What do you think?
Someone to me it was funny, because I was like, really, that's what you got from all that? They were like, oh, she was popping pills like the rappers in society.
Oh, okay.
So I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Like through my whole talk, that's what you got.
That's what you got.
But I was like,
yeah,
there's that one person who thinks that. But maybe there are two people who have helped.
Yeah.
So you're not, whatever you said is not important.
True.
Yeah, so I'm not saying you attack me because I'm human.
But there's actually someone here called Nashon, and I'm a lived experienced person with mental health problem, and happy seeing a champion like me talk about mental health. Everyone has a chance to be a champion. Creating awareness is all the society needs.
Yeah.
Wow, thank you so much. Denomenda nasema they've made some youth kill themselves, especially in the university. I hope you can host me one day. I talk about this as I was doing. I'm sorry about that. I think Deno says he lost someone who was close in the university. The same. He is going through the same thing that you went through with your friends. Yeah. So, Bright, what are some of the challenges that you have experienced? You know, as you do groundwork in the mental health space, that you feel we need to do more?
I think the biggest challenge has been because one of our primary focus was in schools, when you find out that a kid in high school is receptive to the mental health message, and then they identify something and say, I'm going through A, B, C, D, and then you have to reach out to the parent, and the parent is in denial. Now that's very heartbreaking, because what happens is that kid is now it's like you're locked in prison.
Yeah.
And you can't really get the help that you need. And the stumbling block is your caregiver. So that's been a huge challenge. The other thing is resources. This problem is huge, you know, affecting people at any given point in their lives. If you look at the numbers, they say 1 in 4 Kenyans will possibly experience a mental health challenge at any given time. If you look at the healthcare system, they say 40% of the people who are going to the hospital are actually showing symptoms of mental health challenges. Some don't know, and for those who know, help is unattainable. And so resource is a huge thing in the mental health world, where you can't afford medication, you can't afford to see a psychologist, you can't afford to, and even the hospitals are very few. You know, Madari is the major one, which itself, you hear the name Madari, you want to run away. And so it's a huge problem that will need a multifaceted approach to tackle. That will also, apart from us in the NGO world, social enterprise world, it needs government, mainstream government, to come in and also set up infrastructure to support people who are going through these challenges. And as I was listening to her also, and the biggest challenge now is the myths associated with mental illness, you see. She said, for example, she was wondering, her depiction when she was watching the movies and the TV of someone with bipolar is someone who's very violent, and I'm like, I'm not violent myself. And that's the true picture of mental health, how it's depicted in Hollywood or on TV, when you see that news anchor go, a woman who's killed 2 babies, and you know, all those. That's how it's depicted, But the reality is, for most people, that's not the truth. I've read that with the myths, actually, a person living with mental illness is the least harmful, the least likely. What happens is, because they are triggered in an environment, for example, if I take you right now and I lock you up in that room for 5 days, how would you react? You know? So that's what happens. People react to how they are treated. And then it's said, you know, that person is violent. That someone with a mental illness can't work. If you go over history, the best artists, the best leaders sometimes are people who had mental health issues that came out after they're done the bit they're done. And so it's not an impediment. And even when you talk about healthcare now, and for her case, she said she has to take medication for the rest of her life. That's not the truth for everyone. There are some people who will take medication for some time and then they'll be off medication, and there are those who will have to take medication for life. But so what? Someone with diabetes and even now HIV is not as stigmatized as before.
True.
People are taking medication. It's just the thing that you know, you're branded, that makes you think, oh, now I can't live my life.
The perception
but it's a mental barrier, and we have to fight and raise more awareness for it.
I definitely agree. And also, you have an app that you guys did a pilot, Bomber app, that was going now to help more people to get these services. As our theme for this year is mental health in an unequal world. Maybe you can share, once you guys roll out the app, what it will be doing.
So we got an opportunity with Facebook through the Facebook Accelerator program. And we've always had, you know, a strategic plan, because the world is moving towards digital spaces, right? And when you look around, there are very few well-known or mainstream apps that are contextualized to the needs of the Kenyan youth. You have some big mental health apps like Headspace or Ginger, which are multinational, but there's really nothing contextualized to the local context. And we took it upon ourselves to start working towards something. And one of the key things, some of the things Zaria has been mentioning, for example, she's saying that it's social support networks that really helped her. And also, as she talked about her story, people are reaching out to her. Most of these people, if you ask them, will not even know what a psychiatrist is or what a psychologist, and they won't even want to in the initial stages to reach out to, but they relate to her story and then they reach out to her, and that process is really a support system, because if that person was in a very bad situation, just by talking to her, they get to diffuse the thing and then try to understand and then start getting help. And so with the app, we piloted it. We're now in the process of redesigning the UX UI, and we are looking for partners and people who can now help us now bring it to market. So it's coming very soon to market. It's called Boma. As you know, Boma is a community. One of the key features, like I've been mentioning, is the Rafiki. Rafiki being a person with a lived mental health experience who's willing to support others through their story. So you can basically chat with a Rafiki. You can schedule a session with a therapist on one tool. You can interact with media. We, as an organization, we use a lot of poetry, music, and these are things that young people relate with. Physical wellness, to further the conversation. And so if we have, and I had Mzizi Africa on the comment, actually one of the poetry groups that we work with, people can learn through music. Actually, music and poetry, even for Africans, these has been the tools we've been using to pass down our history, and learn and hold messages. So we hold certain things dear, and so if you can use this medium and channels to broaden the message and reach more people, even better. So and lastly, it's the ability to now people to do a self assessment, okay, digitally, and then know if they need to reach out, but also gather data. There's very limited data on mental health. We really don't understand the scope of the problem. One, and two, because there's no data, and even when you talk about medicine, when, for example, GlaxoSmithKline or those big multinationals are working on medication, they test it with people in the environment. Sometimes because of our genes, they don't work for us, you know. So, but we need to get this data and say, this is the problem in Africa. These are the trigger points. This is why it's happening. And so what medication are you even making for our, so the app is also designed to start collecting this data and sharing knowledge from different people across Africa, we can now start sharing these. If someone has done a small little research in Kilifi or something in Nigeria, and it can help people understand more, now the professionals understand more what the problem is and how best to address it, then we will really have solved the problem in a big way.
Okay, so on the app there's me reaching out.
So there is one, you having the ability to do a self-assessment.
Okay.
Two, you interacting with media. That's music, poetry, podcasts,
the resources in the app.
Resources in the app. Three is the Rafiki, being able to talk to Zaria, for example. And there'll be many Zarias on the platform, people who have come out with their stories, right? And then the three, there is what we call the bombers, basically the chat rooms that people can talk anonymously. And the challenge with WhatsApp is sometimes you go into a safe space and maybe someone wants to, what is it called, following you around, stalking you, or you don't want your name out there, but your name is out there. So we work on making it anonymous so that more people can be vulnerable. And lastly is the resource center, being the data, the research, the people, organizations can read from, professionals can read from, people who are interested, individuals who are interested in certain trainings, materials, they can access it on that platform.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think the app is a good idea. We'll be looking forward to it.
Yeah,
especially the anonymity factor. Yeah, I think it would really help. So as we, conclude the conversation, Zaria, you've been sharing your story, and that's how I even came across you. Now you're a mental health advocate, doing like a very good job.
Thank you.
What is motivating you every single day to share your story, to, talk to these people?
I don't want them to feel alone. My therapist is always like, you're thinking of other people. I'm like, yeah, because I felt so alone. Especially with when I came out with the eating disorder thing, I was just like, I was having an episode. I was like, let me just pick up my phone, make a video, post it on Instagram. Then I signed out.
Okay.
I left. I was like, okay, it's like sending a risky text.
And you don't want to see the response.
Yeah. So I was like, oh my God. But for me, I've never been, I don't know, it's never been the backlash for me. Sometimes the stigma does get to me. I do get annoyed.
Yeah.
Sometimes I air out my opinion. And then sometimes I look back, I'm like, I really shouldn't have said that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just don't want people to feel alone because, for instance, when I'm having an episode, it's like, for instance, there was a time I just went and sat on the bathroom floor and I'm trying to talk myself out of throwing up. But if I knew someone who was going through the same thing, I could have called them and I could be like, this is what's happening. I need you to talk me out of this. And now the more people who come out because they feel comfortable after hearing my story, there'll be more people for you to get in touch with, to call. And currently I'm trying to push for a support group for eating disorders so that we all come together and we don't feel alone. Like some of the symptoms you have, like there was one of my symptoms was I told my doctor I'm addicted to throwing up. And in my head I was like, I can't believe I'm saying this doesn't make sense. Yeah. So, and then I also told a friend and she was like, so me too. And so I asked my doctor, why is this happening?
Yeah.
And he was like, the opioid receptors in your brain. So what makes you get that high feeling? Like, when you're on morphine or something, the way you feel. When you throw up, those receptors go off. And so you get that feeling for maybe a few seconds. And because you feel so nice during that time, I latch on to that. And I'm like, this will make me feel good.
So that is where the eating disorder was coming from.
And it's something I could control. So I knew what I was putting in my body.
Okay. But you knew.
And I knew what I'm taking out of my body. It might not make sense. To me, it made sense.
Okay.
Because I was like, if I eat, see, I'll taste the food and it'll be good. But I won't gain weight because I'm going to remove it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, and it became a habit. So sometimes I was like, okay, today I'm going to eat this. Then I'll throw up. At night, I'll eat this and then I'll throw up. Lunchtime, I won't throw up. Whoa. But at night, I'll throw up. So I used to do it multiple times a day sometimes. And so I didn't want people to feel alone because maybe someone could have helped me during that time. I wouldn't have felt like I'm not normal, or it's something I'm doing to myself, or it's something I can just stop. But when someone else understands you, you're able to really work on something, really work on it, and accept yourself, accept it. Because if you're in denial, then there'll be no recovery. The first thing to recovery is acceptance. And if you can't accept yourself, there's nowhere you're going. And if I can help you accept it or at least acknowledge it, then I'm satisfied. I'm content.
Help me help you.
Yeah, and I will wake up in the morning. Sometimes I'll be like, people look at me as, it's bad, but people look at me as someone who is coping. So, and they feel like they can cope as well. But what if I sink, or I take my life, or I go get on drugs,
Yeah.
they'll see, why should they? They'll see me and be like, this girl was just talking and she's doing all these things. So for me, I feel like as much as I have an obligation to myself, I have an obligation to people who are still struggling to come out with their mental illness, and just everyone who has ever felt alone. I want them to feel safe, because it's those things, you never want someone to feel the same as what
the
you
way
felt
you
like.
felt, yeah.
Like when I was growing up, I wouldn't want someone else to feel like that.
Okay.
So if someone can at least know there's someone who has an eating disorder and they're speaking out and it's okay, then I'm good with that.
Wow. Okay, for Bright, your final words.
My parting shot would be, when you're going through a challenge, like she mentioned, it starts with you. And even for her and people like her who've come out and that are supporting a huge network of people, it's that maybe sometimes you fail, and it's okay to fail,
Yeah.
Don't put yourself, don't carry the burden for so many people. As human beings, they say human is to err, human is to error.
Yeah.
And so sometimes we'll fall, but it's how we rise up and how we pick ourselves from every fall that really defines who we are and really then creates the impact that you want to see. So for me, it's to encourage that young person out there who might be going through a challenge, that speak up, speak out, reach out. It might not be your family, it might not be your friend who's offering that helping hand, but the people here who are reaching out to you and saying, look, you can talk to us.
Yeah.
So why not do it? It starts with you. Thank you.
Wow, I like that. Yeah, it definitely has to start with you. I think for me, my parting shot would be, find a community of people you can trust, or a person that you can trust. But as they said, you have to make the first step. Healing starts with you. And if you're privileged enough to have this conversation with your children, with your brothers, with your sisters, with your family, let it start from that point, so that what we're seeing on the media and all these things, you can try to reduce the myths, the misconceptions, and all the perceptions that are not right, which are out here. Thank you so much to everyone who tuned in. And if you're a young person, there'll be an event that is happening for mental health, youth for mental health KE. They have an event on 10th October. So you can just check the social media platforms. Alafu hiyo inaweza kwa tu form fiti. You go learn and also have fun. Yeah, you guys drop your social media platforms penye wase wanaweza wapata.
I'm mostly on Instagram, so you can find me at Zaria_Gikonyo. TikTok,
You're trying.
no, Instagram.
Yeah. Okay.
For us, you can find us on Facebook, Mental 360, on LinkedIn, Mental 360, on Twitter at 360 Mental, and on Instagram at Mental 360 Kenya.
Okay.
Looking forward to
Yeah.
Reach
out to these amazing people. Wameshasema wako available kwa saidia. Mimi mkitaka tu niwaongelesha wasaidia, utanipata pale Instagram at miss_Phil. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a beautiful rest of the day. Bye.